This video is going to cover the evolution of Baki Hanma's fighting style. I'm focusing on the real life stuff that he seems to use because there's a lot of moves that he can do that no one else will be able to. This video will contain spoilers for basically every single Baki series out there, and it's going to be a little chaotic. Baki was actually one of my main influences for branching out of just boxing and looking at more styles. Since we're covering the development of Baki's fighting style, most of it takes place in the child arc of the original Grappler Baki manga. That whole thing was covered by the original Baki the Grappler anime series. But even before I talk about that, I'm going to jump further ahead to Baki Do. This is the one about Musashi. And in this manga, we actually get a specific chapter dedicated to Yujiro Hanma teaching his son Baki. This chapter's title is Jab, and from its title alone, I'm sure you can understand what the base of Baki's entire style seems to be. Now, the original Grappler Baki does show Yujiro training Baki, like the example of him fighting bats to show off how to fight 100 men. But this chapter specifically is one of the few examples we have of Yujiro teaching Baki a specific skill and not trying to intimidate him in the process. He still throws some jabs at Baki, but since this is Yujiro, it barely counts in my book. So in this chapter, Jab, Yujiro explains why it's the most important strike in all of martial arts. It's like the Swiss Army knife of striking. It functions as a rangefinder, it can stop advancing opponents, distract or blind them, and can do significant damage all by itself. In a lot of flashbacks like this, Baki and Yujiro are shown wearing gis. It might just be a coincidence, but since Itagaki is a huge nationalist, I'm going to lean into it and say they might be learning basic karate. Yujiro specifically names the Kizamisuki a karate variant, so it must be some form of karate. When we leave this flashback and get to the present, Baki brings his right hand up when jabbing, meaning he's probably using a boxing variant. The thing about a lot of fighting styles is that they share basic moves. These punches, kicks, and grapples that every fighting style has are oftentimes the same. Different martial arts all come to similar conclusions over the years about the most effective ways to take someone down. In short, martial arts is a Venn diagram. I will say one of Baki's most significant styles is Muay Thai, but I wanted to start him off with karate because he wears a gi as a kid, and in the early chapters of the manga, he attends karate tournaments. Now let's get into the child saga. Most of what I'll speak about is going to take place here, when he's around 13 years old or so, because later in the series, the moves he creates himself are all insane and rely completely on him being a freak of nature. His first major fight in the series is against 100 delinquents. This supports my theory of him being a karateka. If you notice in some shots, he throws side and back kicks, which don't really exist in Muay Thai. There is Thai side kick, but that's more like a teep variant. Side and back kicks do exist in American kickboxing, but remember, originally, American kickboxing was derived from karate and stuff like Tang Soo Do and Taekwondo. A lot of kickboxers back in the 80s and 90s would throw high-flying, spinning back kicks and flying kicks. But then the Thais showed up, started spamming low kicks, and that's when kickboxing changed. Let's move on to Baki versus Hanayama. When he fights Hanayama, they exchange punches. He has to have learned boxing by this point, most likely either from Yujiro himself or one of those personal trainers that Emi hired. Notice that during this flurry of punches, he uses a single knuckle to hit Hanayama below his nose. This technique is called Ippon Ken in karate and can be used to strike someone in a sensitive spot like the eye. He also uses some kind of wrist lock here to flip Hanayama along with a strange arm lock to Uchimata type of thing to throw him. Right now he's not sure what he did here, and Yujiro says that this is just Baki being chosen by God and understanding the flow of a fight. At this point it's some form of standing grappling, but it just seems to be guided by his natural intuition. It's not really a style yet. Let's skip ahead to when he's older. What's curious about Baki throughout the series is his stance. He doesn't stand square or particularly low in anything resembling a grappler or kickboxer stance. In fact, it's something closer to a Philly shell in boxing. He stands bladed with one hand up and the other low but not exactly stuck to his body. In Baki Do, Baki explains his own stance himself. You place your center of gravity on your toes, making use of the somewhat natural stance of keeping one leg in front of the other. You twist your upper body, keeping yourself bladed to minimize your hitbox. Making the boxing influences explicit, he says the front shoulder acts as a cover for the chin. What he doesn't say here is that it's also a major target. Of course, he's Baki, so that wouldn't matter for him. Anyways, as is typical, you keep one fist next to the chin, but his lead hand stays open and ready to respond to any sort of situation. The thing about his stance is that it's extremely jab-centric. Like he says himself, he's on his toes. The whole idea seems to be to gain the advantage by exploding into forward pressure with a jab or something else using the lead hand. By this point, it's obvious that Baki knows Muay Thai. He launches some brutal knees and wears Thai shorts as his signature outfit. He wins against Kosho using an exaggerated Wakikatame, which is an arm lock from Judo. He uses an improved version of this, the Tiger King, against Yujiro. I almost forgot, but Jack and Yujiro are not the only main characters who use wrestling. Baki suplexes Mount Toba in the first series. To recap, so far we've got karate, judo, boxing, and Muay Thai, as well as wrestling, which he's already combined into total fighting. Now let's move on to a fight where Baki the Grappler uses grappling. Let's get into the maximum tournament, specifically his fight against his older brother, Jack. By the way, this page is from Baki Rahin. I just think it's really cool whenever these two interact. The way their fight begins is amazing. It's just like the Don Fry fight against Takayama in Pride. There's no care for defense, these two are just wailing on each other. But he finishes the fight using a standing guillotine choke. So let's add Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to his list. The Maximum Tournament finale is basically the main showcase of Baki's grappling, but he also uses a rear naked choke against Muhammad Ali Jr. The original series gives us the best look at his moves, because the further you get into it, the further he goes past being human. Oh, and here's one more thing, but it's not really part of Baki's fighting style. In the final fight of Baki Do, Baki shows Musashi that he finally understands how to use a blade. Musashi tells him it's amateurish, but he understands the logic behind blades. I would not call this fencing, because Baki only does this to make a point. He never actually uses the blade in a fight. He only swings at Musashi to distract him from something else, never expecting to actually cut him. There's actually another Baki Do that comes after the Musashi arc. It covers Baki fighting some sumo wrestlers. You could just see this entire series as filler, and on some level I agree it is. But it's also nice to see a more chill storyline, where everyone involved is on good terms, except for Yujiro. I think that it shows that after the father-son fight, the stakes of the story cooled off, because Baki's main quest is over. Despite the events of Baki Do 2018, I don't think Baki actually knows sumo. He can do it because it shares a lot of throwing techniques with judo, but I don't think we should add it to his list. When he actually fights the sumo wrestlers, he sticks to his striking. By this point, Baki is like the final boss for a lot of new characters. They approach him for a fight, not the other way around. You could say that with this list, Baki's style is officially complete. In fact, Baki hasn't really shown anything new in Rahin, the newest series, because that seems to make Jack Hanma its protagonist. So to summarize, Baki's fighting style is striking-centric mixed martial arts called total fighting. His styles include karate, boxing, Muay Thai, judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and wrestling. So that's all for my analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you all next time.